Hey guys, the last word slinger here. And the fighter. Wow, let's talk about that for a second. Another really good movie. Now I have to be honest and say that I saw The Fighter and True Grit back to back, so I had a really good day of like good films. I think these were like the two of the big Oscar films that are coming up for this Oscar season. And I can see why. Both are pretty fantastic. You can go check out my True Grit review to hear my thoughts on that particular film. But we're here to talk about The Fighter. The Fighter, starring Mark Wahlberg as Mickey, Christian Bale as Dickie, and Amy Adams. Is it Amy Adams? That chick from Enchanted. The redhead. Anyway, her as Mickey's girlfriend, and a bunch of other really fantastically supporting cast members. And let me give you the quick premise, since that'll lead into everything. Basically, the premise of this film is that Mickey and Dickie are brothers, both of them fighters. Dickie is somewhat famous for actually having, back in his fighting days, gone into the ring with a famous fighter. It was like Sweet something or other. It was a famous African American fighter. He actually got to the ring and he actually got to fight against a famous African American fighter and claims that he knocked him down. But that was Dickie's high point. Mickey is attempting to kind of follow in his brother's footsteps and be his own fighter and try and make a name for himself, actually get up there. But he's been on a losing streak when the film begins. The film starts with Mickey in the middle of a losing streak. He's lost like 2-3 fights. He's not doing so well. But Mickey is training with his brother Dickie to be the next big fighter in the family, and he has the support of his many sisters and his manager mother, and a local cop who also helps train him. And basically the story goes that the story is about Mickey's hardships when dealing with his family, especially his brother Dickie and his problems, while at the same time trying to reach that point where he can, start winning fights and being the successful fighter that he wants to be. So basically, it's kind of like a pull between, being the successful fighter that he wants to be and being there for his family. That's kind of what it's about. Not entirely. I'll explain. But I have to say, it's kind of like Rocky in that, obviously it's a boxing movie. It's like Rocky in that it's a boxing movie, but it's also like Rocky in that it's about this underdog fighter who nobody expects to, do as well as he does. And Mickey being the Rocky of the fighter of the movie, but it's different from Rocky because it actually has a lot of really good build-up, a lot of good characterization, and a lot of good interaction, a lot of good tension and build-up. Like not a lot of tension about the actual fighting. Now, this is tension between like the actual characters. A lot of tension and build-up and characterization prior to actually getting to any serious like boxing scenes. Like, yeah, you actually see a lot of boxing scenes. You see Mickey training and Dickie helping him train, and you see like Mickey getting into a fight. You see Mickey get to one fight early on in the film, but it's quickly, that's quickly it. So, this movie basically takes the premise of the boxing premise and puts that into a secondary seat to the characterization and the characters' interactions with each other, because Christian Bale's Dickie, the older brother, is actually turns out to be a crack addict. and he eventually goes to jail. And Amy Adams has been telling Mickey almost from day one since they were dating, look, your mom and your brother, they're holding you back. You can be a great fighter, but you're letting them take it away from you because you're getting so caught up with your family. And she's not trying to tell him not to be a part of his family, but just, if you rely on these people too much, because Dickie is his trainer and his mom is his manager, she's basically saying, if you rely on these people too much, it's going to ruin any chances you have of getting anywhere with this dream of yours. And Dickie goes to jail, and Mickey takes that opportunity to listen to Amy Adams and be like, you know what, you're right. I need to start focusing on doing what's right. And he basically gets his cop friend to become his trainer, and he gets his stepfather to be his manager. And he actually starts winning fights. And he gets to this really big fight, this really big important fight against this one fighter that's next fight is the title fight. And he's going into this fight, and he visits his brother, and his brother's like, and basically prior to this, Mickey had told his brother Dickie, I don't want you to be any part of this. You've ruined all my chances before. If I'm going to make this, you can't be a part of it. But prior to this big fight, Mickey goes to visit Dickie to, just let him know what's happening. And Dickie gives him some advice, and Mickey then realizes, in the middle of the fight, that Dickie was right, and that he couldn't have won the fight without Dickie. And he's got a title fight coming up now because he defeated the guy in line for the title fight. He gets a shot at the title fight. And so there's this big resolution between Mickey, Dickie, Amy Adams' mother, the stepfather, the cop trainer, just everybody. There's this big resolution between everybody. Where Mickey goes, look, you're right. You guys, he looks at Amy Adams like, you're right. I haven't been able to get this far without you guys, you and his cop friend and, stepfather. But wouldn't have won that fight, and I wouldn't be where I am without, my brother and my mother. So, and, Amy Adams storms off, and Dickie goes to her house and look, my brother loves you. You gotta be there for him. He won't be able to do this without you. He won't be able to do this without me. We gotta do this together. I've cleaned up. I'm not gonna do anything anymore. And I have to be completely honest. Some of the things I really liked about this movie, it followed some cliches, but in a surprising manner. Like, for example, I don't know if this was based on a true story. I think it was, but it followed some cliches, but in a surprising manner. Like, I would have bet money that Mickey was going to lose the title fight, and that was going to be the end of the movie, was, him losing, but coming to terms with the fact that maybe he was past his prime as a fighter and he should move on. But it surprised me in going the obvious cliched route of him winning and being the big winner, a la Rocky. And I was actually quite happy. I was rooting for him. Throughout that entire thing, because I was like, come on, man, you could do it. You've been working this your entire life. Yeah. And it surprised me. It went the cliched route, but not in a bad way. So I was pretty happy about that. Another part I liked was definitely the Dickie goes to the same house. It's a crack house, essentially. He goes to the same place to smoke his crack. And when he gets out of jail, he's clean because you can't smoke crack in jail. So when he gets out, he has this scene where there's the big blow up between, everybody. There's the big blow up, and he leaves. He looks at his brother. He's like, I'm leaving, and he goes. he's like, I can't handle this. I gotta get out. I'm gonna fix this. I'm gonna fix this my way. And everybody's like, no, Dickie, don't do it, man. You're clean. Come on. And obviously everybody thinks he's gonna go smoke crack, and I'm like, Dickie's not gonna go smoke crack. He's better than that. And sure enough, he turns the corner and there's the crack house, and I'm like, no, you won't. You won't. Oh, come on. And he goes right up to his crack house friends, who were happy to see him out of jail, and he looks at them and he's like, peace. And he keeps right on going over to Amy Adams' house to give that speech about, Mickey needing the both of them. And I was like, and I actually got choked up a little bit. I was on the inside, I was rooting for Dickie to overcome that particular weakness of his. And, it's a good sign that it's a good movie when it actually makes you root for the characters to do the right thing. A few other notes about this movie. The fights are good. The fights are really good. They feel very visceral. The fights are incredibly visceral. You're watching these guys go at each other, and you can actually feel just like, you could feel the impacts on each other, and it feels kind of, it's very similar to a Rocky movie in that way, the fights are very well choreographed, and they feel very real to the viewer. Like, you feel like Mark Wahlberg is getting the crap beaten out of him in the very first fight of the movie. He's getting the shit kicked out of him by this other fighter. And that's that's a good sign right there. If I'm going to see a boxing movie, I actually want to believe that these two dudes in the movie are beating the crap out of each other. I don't want to see two dudes sissy slapping each other around and make believe boxing. So that was another good point for the movie. All in all, I would say The Fighter and True Grit together make two of the higher Oscar bait movies for this season. If you haven't seen them yet, I highly recommend it. They are both pretty fantastic, and even seeing two movies back to back, watching those two movies, I did not once get tired or bored of sitting in a theater. So if that's any indication of how good these movies are, then go for it. Definitely go for it, because you could do a lot worse. Like Little Fockers. You can definitely do a lot worse. Alright, I will see you guys later. Alright.